What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another NFL episode. It is time for week number 7 here in the NFL, and we got a great show put together for you guys, full of some free picks, breakdowns, and analysis, as well as some player props. But before we dive into week 7's action, we got to go ahead and jump over there to the Guy Boston Sports website. And week in and week out, that's where I put each of my final plays for the week slate. And you'll find that link down there in the pinned comment. Send you over there, and you can find all of those final plays for free. So let's go ahead and jump over there. Let's break down our plays from week number 6. Let's see what we put in then and how that ended up going down. And you can see we came into the week on a 15-3 run, and those good times continue, man. We finished 8-4 overall on the day, and 3 of those 4 losses were pretty tight even, man. So, just a couple more things go our way. We were so close. We could have had an even better day, man, but 8-4, we're not going to complain about. Dylan Gabriel, though, of the Browns, we had him throwing an interception. Guys, he threw about 5 footballs straight to those Pittsburgh defensive backs' hands, man. They just could not bring the ball down, right? So the opportunities were there, but we do not end up cashing on that one. Kind of the same thing here with Evan McPherson, man. The opportunity was there. Over 1.5 field goals made. He lands on 1 field goal made for the day. Guys, he hit a 67-yard field goal there before the first half. Green Bay just ended up icing him on that when he comes back out, and he shanks it the second time around. So we don't cash on that one. Unfortunately, it is that plus money cash out too. So unfortunately, the streak ends. We had given away money 2 weeks in a row. Not this week, man. So hopefully we can get back on the right side of that here this week. We did take the Jets team total under 18.5. That was a cash, as was the Seahawks. Jaguars full game total under 48.5. We took the Steelers laying 4.5. We took the Panthers catching 3.5. Both of those hit as well. Another tough one though. The Chargers laying 3 and they only win by 2, so we don't hit on that one. Rams money line, Colts money line. We parlayed those together for a cash. We took the Bengals and the Packers a total over 44.5. That was a hit as well. And then the Buccaneers, man, they just keep rolling. We took them laying 2.5. That was also a hit. Now here's the toughest loss of the week, in my opinion. The Lions on the money line. That was our dog of the week, and the only play that we put a full unit on at plus money, and they get smoked. So we don't end up cashing on that one. But we had taken Tua first quarter passing yards under 45.5 at plus money, and that one hit as well. So like I said, not going to complain about a 8-4 day anytime, right? Well, man, I'm going to take it. And look, we've had a very, very good start to the NFL season, man. I can't complain whatsoever. What it's been 5 out of the first 6 weeks that we've been profitable and landing in the green. Man, let's keep these good times rolling. Let's have another good week here in week number 7. It's off to a good start here if you're a Bengals fan, so hopefully we can roll that positive energy along with these last few weeks right here into week 7 and cash out again, guys. So let's go ahead and do it, man. Smash that like button down there for me if you can. Hit subscribe if you have not already. Let's go ahead and jump into our first segment of the show, the prop playbook. Now, that's where we break down our favorite player props on the week. So let's go ahead and jump over to Outliers so we can look at our first one. I'm going to be looking at Rashid Shaheed of the Saints. His receiving yards over 39.5. Now, I was able to catch that earlier in the week at 38.5, but you can see that those are all gone now. 39.5 is the best one that we're going to be able to find. It's at minus 110 over there at BetMGM and Hard Rock. So good price there on this one. And you can see down here this insight from Outlier. He's exceeded 39.5 receiving yards in 4 out of his last 5 games, averaging 56.6 receiving yards per game during that span, an 80% hit rate over those last 5 games. Now, we scroll on down and look at his receptions, his targets. He's getting the targets right, and he's pulling them in as well. 74% of his targets he's pulling in. And he's broken off a couple big chunk plays too, right? 39 yards there against San Francisco. These are his longest receptions of each game. 39 yards, like I said, against the Niners. 87 there against the Giants. And last week, man, we saw this Bears defense give up 2 plays of 33-plus passing yards to the Washington Commanders. Shaheed has caught at least 4 balls in every single game as well, man. So he's having a good season here despite the issues there at quarterback for the Saints and everything else that they got going on as well, right? He's the second highest targeted receiver on this team as well. So I like this look to start us off here. Rashid Shaheed over 39.5 yards. Minus 110 over there at BetMGM. Then we'd be looking at Saquon Barkley of the Eagles, his rushing yards over 69.5. Now, this is another one. I caught it earlier in the week. It was minus 131. It's moving a little bit, minus 137 now. Now, on the year, man, he has not, it's not looked well, right? He's up under this mark 5 out of the 6 games, man. So only averaging 54 rushing yards per game. Just not a good start to the season for him. But if we look over here, man, at Minnesota, right, their rushing yards allowed sitting at 24th against that running back position. They fall down to 27th as well. I think that this might be one of those games where we could see him just break out and have a day, right? We scroll on down and look at running backs against the Vikings so far, and we can see all of those green check marks, right? So yeah, I like Saquon Barkley to break out here. have a good game. I think this is his game where he just kind of goes off, right, and reminds us who he is. Over 69.5 rushing yards. I like him to get 70. I think that's pretty easy there, man. That's easy money. We could even get a little bit higher if we wanted to, and look at it at a better price, right? You got some 73s and a half, 74, 75s. That's some good prices, and then you can get plus money for him to hit 80 yards. I think that's even worth a look, man. If we want to get a little more risky, I think it's worth a look. It's gonna take us into our plus money cash out for the week, man. Now, how this works is basically I just pick my favorite plus money play on the week, the one that I think has the best chance of cashing. And if it does cash, pick a random commenter down below. We're gonna send out a $10 Amazon gift card your way. All you got to do is comment double up down below in those comments because that's what we're trying to do with these plus money plays, man. Trying to double up on our money. So I'm going to be looking at Devin Achane of the Dolphins. I'm looking at his rushing yards under 61.5. We get that at plus money right now over there at No Big. Now, here's the thing about this with No Big, with it being that peer-to-peer sports book, that money might dry up and this pick might not be available after a little while, right? But if we scroll over here and look, we got some 59 and a halves out there, some 58 and a halves out there. And I like those as well, right? I think that we can look at those and find some value also, man. Look, obviously, it's a little bit of a risky play. He's coming off of a 128-yard rushing game, 99 yards 2 weeks before that, right? If we look at him head-to-head against the Browns, right, last season, only 25 rushing yards, and that was in a 20-3 win, right? Only 25 rushing yards there. We look at these Browns, man, third overall on the year for rushing yards allowed. It only jumps up to fifth for that running back's position specifically. Let's go ahead and jump over here to the Guy Boston Sports Dash, too. I want to look at some things over here real quick on this one, man. Look, it's just not going to be a good matchup overall for Devin Achane. You can see it right here. Very tough, right? Very tough. You can see everybody else on some fairly tough, some fairly easy, some very easies. He's the only one sitting over here with a very tough matchup going up against that number one ranked DVOA defense for the run in Cleveland, right? We look up here, we can see why sitting at third for rushing yards per game on the year, first for rushing yards per carry. So I like this look a lot. Like I said, Devin Achane under 61.5 rushing yards at plus 120. That's going to be our plus money cash out for the week. With that said, it's time to jump into our quick hits, man. We're going to go ahead and break down the week slate and give a quick analysis of each of these games and what my favorite play is for each of those. So let's go ahead and jump into the first one, man. 9:30 a.m. kickoff time. We got the Rams taking on the Jaguars. Now, guys, man, the Jags feel like the trap pick of the week to me, man. I'm seeing a lot of people jump on them with Puka potentially missing this one for the Rams. This one also being in London, basically the Jags home away from home, right? But this Jags defense has not been super impressive over the last three games, man. 17th for rushing yards per carry. They're dead last for passing yards allowed per game. The Rams, they sit at fourth offensively DVOA, sixth through the air, and second on the ground. Jacksonville, they're more middle of the pack, 16th for total defensive DVOA, 15th against the pass, 13th defending the run. This looks like it's going to be a tough matchup for Lawrence as well, man. LA sitting at fifth for QB hits, fourth for sacks. The Jags are just 18th and 16th, respectively, in that regard. This Rams defense is also third for points allowed per game. Stafford, on the other side, he plays much better against zone coverage, and wouldn't you know, Jacksonville plays zone defense at the second highest rate in the NFL. So give me the Rams on the money line here. I think it's sitting around, yeah, minus 152 is where I caught that one at. Now we're going to be jumping into the 1 p.m. games here. We're going to kick it off with the Panthers and the Jets. And the Panthers, man, they've been rejuvenated. They found a little bit of a glimmer of hope right behind the play of running back Rico Dowdle and his franchise record over a two-game stretch now, 473 yards from scrimmage. But you look at the Jets, and for everywhere that they've looked downright atrocious, defending the run is not wanting them. They're fourth DVOA against the run. So I'm not sure that I get there, man. I don't know if I'm crazy enough to back the 0-6 Jets, but they got to win one at one point, right? This kind of feels like one that they can sneak out a win at home, so I'm going to lean their way here on the side. I'm not sure that I get there, though. Next up, going to be looking at the Patriots and the Titans. And we look at New England, they are 11th on the year, 5th over their last three games, and 3rd on the road so far in terms of points scored per game. The Titans, on the other hand, they sit at just 26 on the year for points allowed. Tennessee is 28th against the run, 29th defending the pass. And while the Patriots' ground game has struggled, Drake May and that passing attack sure hasn't, man. I'm not sure I want to lay a full touchdown on the road with New England yet, though, man. So the Titans have looked pretty bad for sure, but this is the NFL, right? Crazy things happen and wild things happen each and every week. So, said, man, I'm not sure that I'm ready to lay a full touchdown with the Patriots yet on the road with this young squad, man, but they have looked really impressive. So, backing the Patriots to get 24 points on the board against this poor defense, I like that more. So, I'd be looking at the Patriots team total over 23.5. You can get that at minus 135 over there at DraftKings. So that's the route that I'm going to go with this one here. I'm going to be looking at the Eagles and the Vikings. Philly, man, they've lost two straight. Barkley has rushed for 60 or less yards in 5 of those 6 games played. We just talked about that there in that player prop with him, right? But I'm leaning towards each of these things flipping here in week number 7, man. Philly, they haven't lost 3 games in a row in 3 years now. The Vikings, while 3-2, those 3 wins aren't super impressive in my opinion. You got wins over the Browns and the Bears with a combined margin of victory of just 7 points in those 2 games. And then sure, they blew my Bengals out, man, but that was, week 1 without Joe in the first of 3 atrocious Jake Browning starts. The Vikings have also struggled against the run, 24th in rushing yards a game, 23rd against the run DVOA. You insert one of the best running backs this generation has seen, one who's been struggling to open up the year. Man, I think Barkley goes off, and I think Philly gets back in the win column. So give me the Eagles here. Then we're looking at the Saints and the Bears. Now, this is one where if I was going to play this one, I probably won't, though. But if I was going to play this one, I would probably look to take an alternate number here, man. You can get the Saints catching 6.5 for a little bit more of a juice price. I would like that a little bit more, I think, than anything else. Now, they've covered at that number 2 weeks in a row now, while the Bears have failed to do so over 4 of their 5 games played this season so far. Now, despite coming into this one on a 3 game winning streak, Chicago has won 2 weeks in a row by just 1 point. So, yeah, if I play anything here, it'll be taking a stab with New Orleans to keep this one a little bit closer. Then looking at the next game, Las Vegas Raiders, Kansas City Chiefs. Now, this one on the surface, it looks pretty easy, right? Take the Chiefs laying whatever and just keep it pushing. Well, thing with these divisional games is that it's just never that simple, man. You look at these two head to head, and the Raiders have covered in 4 of the last 6 meetings, actually, 3 times in a row, and they won one of those 3 games outright as an 11-point dog. So I know the Chiefs are starting to surge, man. The Raiders are coming in off just their second win of the year, and that was over the lowly Titans at that. I get all that, man. But the story, around these two teams, it's not any different this year than it has been over the past few years, right? One is consistently contending for championships, the other can't sniff the playoffs. We talk about them and their recent success covering against the Chiefs. They weren't any better in these prior years with, Aiden O'Connell or Gardner Minshew under center than they are right now with Geno Smith under center, right? And their defense is sitting at 10th for total DVOA. They're giving up the 8th fewest yards through the air and the 5th fewest yards on the ground over their last 3 games. So I think they can, give this Kansas City offense a little bit of trouble and at least slow things down and keep this one closer than what this line is screaming at us, right? So I went ahead and took it's juiced. I took an alternate at 14.5. I don't see the Chiefs beating the Raiders by more than 2 touchdowns in this one. Now, are they capable? Absolutely. They're the Chiefs, right? But like I've said, man, and if history tells us anything with these divisional games and this matchup specifically, I think the Raiders can keep it within 2 touchdowns. So the Chiefs win this game, I think. Obviously, I'm not calling for the Raiders to be the upset, to be the dog of the week or anything. We're not throwing that on them or anything, but definitely think that they can keep it within 2 touchdowns. Next up, I'm going to be looking at the Miami Dolphins, Cleveland Browns. Now, we have bad weather on the horizon here in Cleveland, and a team that is finding its identity on the ground in Cleveland as well, behind rookie Quinshawn Judkins, and a team in Miami that's 28th DVOA against the run, 32nd for total defensive DVOA. Miami's allowing the most rushing yards per game and the 4th most points per game this season. Now, they're just 27th in rushing yards per game themselves on the offensive end, 21st for passing yards, 20th overall for total offensive DVOA. Cleveland, they're giving up the 7th fewest yards through the air, the 3rd fewest yards on the ground, and the fewest yards per carry. So I think the struggles continue for Miami here, man. It's a team that's beginning to spiral internally, and now they have to go on the road in inclement weather conditions as well. And man, for as bad as the Cleveland Browns franchise has been over the last, I don't know how many years now, that fan base is one of the most loyal fan bases in all of football. And they're going to be rocking. So it's going to be a tough atmosphere for the Dolphins, man. I like the Browns on the money line here in this one. Then we're going to be moving into our 4 p.m. kickoff games. First up, we're looking at the Colts and the Chargers. Man, look, the Colts continue to impress me, right? They're scoring the most points per game to this point with the top-rated offensive DVOA in the league, while also allowing the fewest points against them on the year as well, man. Shout out to Sweet Lou. We miss you in Cincinnati, man. I knew it wasn't you that was the problem. It was the personnel. Give this guy some solid players. Look what he does, man. That is a great defense over there. Now, Los Angeles on their end, though, they're still battling through injuries. And although they come in at 8th against the pass DVOA, they're just 26th against the run. Indianapolis, they're coming in at 2nd through the air DVOA. They're 3rd on the ground. Right, Jonathan Taylor has scored the most rushing touchdowns on the year outside the tackles. You look at the Chargers, they've given up the most such touchdowns. So I'm going to lean with the Colts here in this one. I don't mind a look at Jonathan Taylor for an anytime touchdown either. It was pretty juiced. It was sitting at -150 when I saw it earlier, but it's a good look, man. I wouldn't mind that one at all. Next up, going to be looking at the Giants and the Broncos. I think I'd look at a total in this one, man. We can get a total under 41.5 at -130 on Hard Rock. Now, it's because I don't trust this Denver offense enough right now to lay a touchdown with them in this game, but I do trust their defense to keep this one a low-scoring affair. Look at the Giants. They're 20th for points allowed per game, but the Broncos are just 20th for points scored themselves, while the Giants sit down at 26th. Defensively, the Broncos are giving up the second fewest points coming into Week 7. For as fun as they've been, to open up this year, this looks like a really tough matchup for the rookie duo of Dart and Scadaboo. Uh, Denver, man, they have the sixth-ranked defense DVOA. They're allowing the sixth fewest yards on the ground and the third fewest yards through the air as well. Dart, he's had more success against zone coverage so far. Denver, they play man at the third highest rate, and they get pressure after the quarterback at the second highest frequency. So if Denver shuts down the run and they can get to Dart consistently, man, they may struggle to sniff double digits here, the Giants, right? So I'm going to lean full game under, maybe even take a look at the Giants team total under in this one, but definitely like that full game under, taking it at 41.5, just buying a point there and get a little bit more insurance. The next up, going to be looking at the Packers and the Cardinals now. Cardinals, man, they are a tough read, right? 4 straight losses, but all the games that were winnable end of the day. Those 4 losses all come by a combined margin of defeat of just 9 points. A 4-point loss, a 3-point loss, and then 2 1-point losses. So they're 2-4 coming into this one, and they bring in a defense that's sitting at 13th for total DVOA, but offensively they are just 23rd for total DVOA, 22nd in the passing game, 25th in the run. Green Bay is giving up the fewest yards per game on the ground defensively. They're second defending the pass DVOA, and they come in at 8th for points per game on the offensive end themselves. 10th for total offensive DVOA, 11th in the run game, and 9th throwing the ball. Man, it's a lot of points to lay, but I couldn't look any way but Green Bay here in this one. Then we're going to be looking at the Commanders and the Cowboys. Now, look, man, the Cowboys, they're bringing a defense into this one that they couldn't cover their own self with the world's largest tarp if they had it, man. This defense is just downright atrocious. They've allowed 4 of their 5 opponents to go up and over their team total, with the one that didn't go over landing right there on the hook. They've given up an average of 30 points per game this season. That is third worst in the NFL. Their defense is 31st for total DVOA, 29th for rushing yards allowed per game, dead last in terms of passing yards allowed. I like Daniels and this Commanders team to bounce back, man, after his fumble late in last week's tough loss, a game that they really should have won. And he's played exceptionally better against the zone as well. That's something that Dallas plays at the 4th highest frequency. So give me Washington here on the side. Give me Washington on the money line at plus money, man. And speaking of plus money, that's going to lead us into that Sunday night football game. We're not getting out of here without talking about the dog of the week. It's right here, guys. It is time for that dog of the week. We're looking at the Atlanta Falcons and the San Francisco 49ers. I'm looking at the Falcons on the money line plus 120. Now, if we take that kind of confusing 30-0 loss to the Panthers out of the picture, right, for the Falcons season, they've looked pretty good this year, man. They've won 3 of their other 4 games this year, with that one loss coming by just 3 points to what's been a really good Tampa Bay team so far this year. And their wins have been pretty solid as well. A 16-point road win over the Vikings and 2 straight wins over the Commanders and the Bills coming into this one. The Falcons are 10th for total DVOA. San Francisco, despite their 4-2 record, they're coming in at 22nd. The Niners have their issues, though, defensively, right? They're piling up with injuries, and they come in at 22nd for total defensive DVOA. Falcons, meanwhile, they sit atop the entire NFL at first for total defensive DVOA. San Francisco's been much better through the air than on the ground this season also. They are first for passing yards per game, third from last in terms of rushing yards per game. Falcons, they sit at 12th DVOA defending the run. Man, they are first against the pass. They're giving up the fewest yards through the air per game as well. Falcons on offense, they're sitting at 8th for rushing yards per carry, first for rushing yards per game. This Niners defense coming in at just 19th DVOA defending the run and 22nd over their last 3 for rushing yards per carry. And I figure those numbers are just going to get worse now with Warner out as well. Like I said, those injuries just mounting and piling up for the Niners on that defensive side of things, man. So give me the road dog here, man. I'm with the Falcons in this one. Like I said, plus 120 there. That is my dog of the week. That is going to wrap us up for week number 7. Hope you guys enjoyed the show this week. Hope you found the content helpful and useful. And if you did, please don't forget to smash that like button on your way out. Hit subscribe if you have not already. And that is going to do it, man. Hope you guys all cash out and have yourselves a great week 7. And I'll see you back for week number 8.